Okay. So, quick switch over now between the last race and this one. And one of the runners is the same. So if you weren't here for the last race, we had Sten. I forget already who his previous opponent was, but now he's against Bramz. So just waiting on them to ready up, and they'll be going soon enough. And they're both ready. So good luck to both of the runners, and let's get this race underway. Okay, and they're off. Looks like we've got a bit more delay on Bramz' side, but no big deal. They'll both be pretty much identically together for the first world anyway. So if you don't know these guys, they've both been running this game for about 5 odd years, roughly. They're both pretty damn good. Steven has had world records in this game, in other categories in the past. Bramz has also had pretty high spots on those leaderboards. But neither of them tend to go with capes as their main category. No cape, rather. They both tend to stick to cape stuff. Both of them are typically 96 boys, but Bramz has been doing some Lunar Dragon recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play when that cape is taken away from them. When it comes to this category specifically, Steven does have the upper hand in terms of PB. His PB is about 1.5 minutes faster than Bramz's. But they're both pretty good anyway. They've had the time and experience to get used to this game, even when they don't have cape, and they're going to be showing that off right now. So there's not a whole lot to talk about in World 1, just gotta hold right and jump. Those Bram platforms, though, they do start to move right while Mario's on them, so they want to be landing on them as early as possible and jumping off of them as late as possible to get a slight boost. And you see that their game timers are both at 2:59. If you hear me talk about numbers at the ends of levels, it'll be referring to that on the HUD at the top of the screen. If they hadn't ran on those Bram platforms enough, they'd have a 2:58 there. And we'll see whether they'll be going for stuff in Y4, whether they'll be going for a shell jump or just stomping on it. Oh, Sten took a bit of a dip in the pool there, which isn't what you want, but never mind. And you see the Bramz has the higher game time, and that's pretty much all that saves. You do save a slight bit of time getting the shell jump, but it's under half a second. The real difference will be when they start to get into World 2. And if you wondered why they weren't getting the midway, that first jump under the Koopa there is much easier small, and this jump here under the Koopas on the nets, you can take that tighter if you're small as well. And Bramz and Steven both got the midway tape there, so some people prefer to stay small for World 2. Looks like they're both taking the fire route here. Or I know that Bramz was talking earlier today about taking the power-up just for a D-boost in Donut Secret 1. But now he has fire, so I'm not sure. We'll see. Nice kill there from Steven, that sliding fireball kill. Both getting a 2:41 on the game time, though. It's pretty good. Standard World 1. So as I say, World 2 is where we'll start to really see a difference in this category compared to others that you'll typically see people running in this game. This is where you'd typically pick up the cape from that Koopa there, and nope, we're just going straight past him. If you're wondering what this category is, no cape, no Star World bans the use of cape and Star World. So, you know, that's not obvious. But, you know, it's interesting. Using cape, while it's kind of overestimated, like how it's overstated rather, how much people use cape to fly over levels in this game, having no cape means you can't fly over any of them. Well, not in the normal way anyway. You'll see a lot more platforming and a lot more tricky maneuvering of Mario, and you've really got to know how he moves to do well in these categories. So you'll see them skipping this pipe there, and even though Mario does move faster, about twice as fast with an item in his hands, those pipe transitions to get the shell are really not worth it if you're without cape, because you'd have to get the P-balloon, I believe. Either way, it's slower. And it saves a lot less time than some people seem to understand. And just moving forwards through the level isn't enough to make it worth it either, because the pipe transitions are just so long. And this level here, this ghost house, all of the ghost houses really tend to pose puzzles to the casual gamer. And you're supposed to go through the doors in this quite a few times before getting a vine up to this door here. But as you can see, Mario can just spin jump on these boos and get up to the door straight away. You don't have to go through the doors at all, other than that first room. But yeah, they both took a damage boost in Donut Secret 1. Steven got the mushroom back, which lost a bit of time, but maybe he'd wanted as safety. He could have definitely used it there, or rather, it came in handy there. Didn't die. And this is the first level where you really get to see how much of a difference the cape makes. It's such a cool level to watch done well. God, I can't speak today. 262 on the game timer there from Bramz, 261 from Sten. Both pretty good times. You know, if you want to see how to do this level, this is how. And there's a couple different things you might see people do in Donut Plains 4 here. Looks like they're both taking the shell. You see Bramz got through that hammer bro there, and Steven doing the same. Just running the shell straight into him. Steven having a bit of trouble getting over that tall pipe. Bramz got over no problem. And you see they get a Yoshi, and this is also where they're getting the quote-unquote first Fire Flowers. The first one that matters, this one in Donut Plains 4. They both get Yoshi. They'll be abandoning him in World 3, but we see him quite a bit more than you would in other categories. And that dismount at the end there, you only have a small chance. Like, it's a lot tighter to get through under that hammer bro if you don't throw Yoshi, so it's much easier to just throw him for safety. And a hint, don't hold spin jump on those stairs there that you see them jumping up in room 1. If you do, there's a chance you can clip through the stairs, and nobody wants that. But this is kind of just a waiting room in no cape categories, unfortunately. And this spring here that Bramz has got, want to bounce off the Koopa instead of using that so that you can take it up to the top. Skip a bit of a cycle at the top of the room. Sten managing to do it fine as well. Ooh! Bramz taking a hit, but not a death. That was risky. Throwing it straight on where you would in the Cape Cat there, because you come up a little bit later in the cycle. Seeing what Steven did there, putting it against the wall, that's a much safer approach. And even though he entered the fight much later than Bramz, they're pretty much synced up again thanks to having that Fireflower still. So as you see, the two methods for fighting Mordon is 3 stomps or 2 fireballs in a stomp, and this here just shows it's definitely worth it to have that Fireflower. So Bramz could get a Fireflower back before Ludwig, and he will want it, really. It's not going to be as simple as just keeping it like Steven, so he's going to probably lose a bit of time just from that. But it shouldn't be too bad. And we don't want to abandon Yoshi yet. You could use him to jump up and get an extra jump up to the key, but no, we want him to do that in the next level. So Steven grabbing a second Fireflower there, while Bramz grabbing his first one. So they're still not too far apart, but Steven does have a second Fireflower for backup. And you want to keep that for Roy later as well. So as I say, this is the level where you want to be using Yoshi for a second jump, and you'll see them doing this in a second. Much quicker than using the vines to the right is just jumping off of Yoshi there. And Bramz fireballed one of the Koopas. Steven went for it but didn't quite get it, and you see exactly why they do that there. Too many sprites around means that green beam spring on the right just didn't have time to spawn. Or not time, but there was no space for it to spawn in the sprite slots. They were all full of Koopas. So for anyone that's learning this category, that's a good thing to point out. There's fireball the Koopas on the way up, one turns into a coin and drops below, and then that green spring will always spawn. But as we know, Yoshi's useful, so Bramz grabbing him back here. Steven gonna grab him as well. And it's funny, you spend pretty much just as much time off the ground in this level as you do on it, bouncing on all those Koopas. It's not as difficult as it looks, but it's by no means trivial. Or not as difficult as it looks, rather. Now, because they're on the Japanese version of the game, these dolphins are edible by Yoshi. Something a lot of people like to point out. And I believe eating some of these can help with lag. Well, so I've been told. See Steven eating some there. And a nice level from both of them there. Getting on all those dolphins on the right place, it's not super easy, but they've both done it fine. They don't. I've been lied to. So you may have seen when they came out of the pipe at the beginning of this level that they went a bit farther down than you would expect before they started swimming normally. And that's because they entered this level with Yoshi, and Yoshi takes longer to come out of pipes. And even though they weren't on the Yoshi because it's a no Yoshi level, the game didn't quite notice that. So it still took longer for Mario to come out. But it's worth having him because it makes Butterbridge 2 a heck of a lot easier. And then you use him later in Forest of Illusion as well. It's only happens on the first pipe in the level though, so that one there, you see that they come out straight away. Steven very close to that fireball there, damn. Looks like it just dipped his head in the fire, but Resno's fireballs are actually had the same sized hitbox as Mario's fireballs, which are much smaller. It's just that the graphic for them is large. So even though that looked super spooky, he was, I guess, safe. I wouldn't go for that on purpose, though. And now we wait. So Butter Bridge 1 is bloody boring. That's what I would say the BB stands for. You can, you know, it's just an auto scroller. There's not a whole lot to say. Swag out as much as you can, but don't lose time, because that's slow. This can also be a good level to manipulate your score if you're the kind of person who does that in their runs as well. Because you're not really losing time to going back and forth, or, you know, you can choose which enemies you're stomping on that. You can try to get your score as good as possible, and the score does contribute quite a bit to lag between levels and things like that. But this is the slowest level unknown to man. But we're nearing the end of it now. Bramz is out. And now Steven is too. Nice. So they'll be entering Ludwig's castle now. And Ludwig is one of the other Koopa kids where you want a fire flower to beat him quicker. And it matters more for Ludwig than it does... Oh, no, god damn. I forgot about Butterbridge 2. But this is the level where you see they grab a blue shell and they can fly over it like Bramz just has. So it's one of the few levels that you actually do fly over in this category. I guess that's why I forgot about it. But as I was saying, they want a fire flower for Ludwig, which Bramz will now be going into. Because as with Morton and Roy, you can use 2 fireballs in a stomp instead of 3 stomps to kill him. And while Morton and Roy would just run up the side of the wall and stomp down on your head, you know, you can get them on their way. Ludwig, he'll go into this phase where he spins around in his cape. Oh! Bramz took a hit there, but he did have a spare fire, so that's fine. Yeah, Ludwig has a phase where he spins around in his shell, takes forever, does what he wants, and then starts shooting fireballs at you again for you to hit him. And while you can skip one of those cycles, you can skip both of them if you have fire. So Bram's still entering the fight a little bit ahead of Steven, but they're still pretty damn close. You know, any level could call this. Or switch the tables, rather. Turntables. I cannot get my words out properly today. I apologize. But yeah, this is still super close. Interesting bit of trivia, this castle cutscene is the longest castle cutscene in the game. Closely followed by Wendy's. And all of that Japanese writing there basically says, hey Ludwig, I don't like you, so goodbye to your house. And they can enter the Forest of Illusion. Well named, because this is the first place, I believe, where you're forced to get the secret exit to progress. And that's in Forest of Illusion 3. So Bram's having to get a new Yoshi there, but it's fine. They're still relatively close, but it did let Steven take over a little bit there. Bram's getting his backup Fire Flower so that he can have 2 for Roy. And that's important for a reason I'll explain when we get there. Okay, that Hammer Bro is pretty much always gets in your way, but if you spit out the shell like Bramz did there, you can use it to get it bounced back up to the platform without having to wait for the Hammer Bro platform to swing back to the right for you. So that's a good backup. And as we'll be seeing here, hopefully they'll get in first try without any trouble. If Yoshi... Oh, okay, Steven's messed up Yoshi's subpixel already. So he's just going to have to keep on trying for this clip, is what they're going for. Neither of them getting it first try. Steven's through now, Bramz is still trying, but he is going for both sides, and he's through. So as you see there, like if Yoshi and Mario are slightly off center, Yoshi will move to Mario's X position when he mounts him. And you can abuse that to get into the corner of a wall and clip through it. And it is dependent on Yoshi's subpixel, which I mentioned, which was essentially random when Steven drops him on the floor. But it's also dependent on a 4-frame rule. And if you manipulate Yoshi's subpixel perfectly, there's still a 1 in 4 chance that you get kicked out of the wall, so... Neither of them got awful luck there, but they didn't get the best. We'll see if we get a wall jump at all. Steven went for it, it looks like, but didn't get it. Bramz gets it! So he jumped at the pipe there, and that's both pixel perfect and frame perfect. To get a jump off the wall, he clipped in between 2 tiles of the pipe, and it essentially, for a frame, thought that he was standing on the side of the pipe. And you can use that frame to jump. Which, of course, is faster than having to use the spring up. So it saved a little bit of time there over Steven, but not enough for him to take the lead. Still relatively close, though. So they have 2 Fire Flowers, and I said that that's important. In this level, you see that we're having to ride this block snake, so it's essentially an auto-scroller. But because it's not an actual auto-scroller, you can abuse Mario's iframes when he takes damage and skip a little bit towards the end of the room. If you only have 1 power-up, or if your second power-up is not a Fire Flower, you can skip the part of the room, but then you won't have a Fire Flower for Roy to be able to fight him faster, as we talked about in Morton and Ludwig. But as you'll see here, taking damage off of the ceiling and then collecting the Fire Flower straight away, you do have enough iframes to keep that Fire Flower. Oh, Bramz didn't manage it, so he won't have fire for the fight, but he did use the iframes fine to get through and skip that bit of the room. So again here, you'll see that Steven uses 2 fireballs in his stomp to kill Roy straight away, and Bramz is going to have to use 3 stomps, which is about 4-ish seconds slower. So, you know, they're still going to be in the same levels, but Steven does have a bit of a lead now. So Chocolate Island 1 is another one of these levels where you're just running right and jumping at the right time. Not a whole lot of tech to talk about, but it is one that's relatively difficult. You know, these jumps are easy to mess up. Sten taking damage, and Bramz did as well, I believe. And if they wanted to have another power-up, they could take that springboard that's at the end, but it's a little slow, so not surprised to see Sten pass that up. Bramz is going for it though. It's not super slow, but it's not necessary. Bramz hasn't had the best luck this run though, so it's understandable that he might want to take things a bit safer than he usually would. And Choco Ghost House is a matter of avoiding the Aries that come along and getting out of the Fish and Boo's way. Sten taking that mushroom instead. I'm not sure which is faster, that or the springboard that Bramz got. But as you see, they're using it to get more iframes so that they can jump through that Boo laser and spin jump off of the first Boo in that line. It's the only one you can actually interact with. You can take damage from the others, but you can't bounce off of them. It's possible to do that without taking damage, but it's easier to do it this way for sure. And as was discussed in the last race, this level, it's kind of tricky. This is another one that's intended to throw you up, I think. The rooms that you enter change depending on your game time, your coins, or your dragon coins. Luckily for us, this is the speedrun. We want to go fast, and we want the secret exit. And if you go fast, you get the secret exit. So, no problem. Beautiful level there from both of them. So glad to see that Sten didn't just hold right like he usually would in going into this level. Bramz remembered as well. It's easy to just get into the habit of holding right when you enter levels. It's a Mario game. But no cape in this one, you don't want to do that. So this room that Sten's in now, bouncing on those spinies at the start, no, spike tops, sorry. And using these sandbars that are falling to get through. And there's some of these towards the end of the room that are sloped, and slopes are infamously evil in this game. They can very easily eat your jumps or kill your P-speed. So something you'll see a lot of runners do is do a just hold jump on the second to last one. Or you see that these guys did something slightly different, but with the same idea in mind. You do something where it doesn't matter if your jump gets eaten, you'll still survive. So Sten getting Crusher Skip fine though. Bramz getting it as well. That lets them save a cycle of those crushers going up and down. Oh, damn, Sten, don't pause. Okay, so this has flipped the tables now. Bramz is now in the lead. Still in the same level, but that's not gonna be fun for Sten. So both in the fight at the same time, but this time it's Bramz that's finishing it first. And if you got a keen eye, you might see that Wendy's feet appear below the pipe that she's about to come out of, so you can use that to get over there quicker. Get a sooner hit on the Koopa Kid. And we're out of Chocolate Island. So this is still, not a game that I'd want to call. But we're getting into the last world now. And Bramz is now ahead. He does have a power-up as well. So you'll see that in this room that Bramz is entering now, he'll delay slightly, and that's not just to avoid this boo, but it's also to manipulate the boo cloud itself, the position of it, because if that boo cloud disappears and despawns as the boo rings spawn, they just won't spawn. And looking at it, he might have to do a scroll here if he wants it. Yeah, he didn't, and it didn't despawn. Sten's is lined up perfectly, though, for that first boo ring to despawn. And you'll see that where Bramz had 2, Sten only has 1. So he doesn't have to worry about that at all. And he, as expected, he used that mushroom to deboost through the second ring and get through quicker. And at the end of this room, we have everybody's favorite sprite. I wonder what it is. Chat, can you remind me? Oh yeah, it's the orb. So here we're entering Valley of Bowser 1. This is actually one of my favorite levels in the run. It's really interesting to see the different things you can do, you know, with these Mega Moles, and beautiful level. So Sten took the beginning of that a bit faster there. Bramz waited at the top of the stairs to do his scroll. And you want to scroll right so that they spawn sooner and they're farther left when you encounter them. Bramz having a bit of trouble there. Oh, takes a death, so Steven's again in the lead. That's unfortunate. But Steven took that level perfectly. Bramz less so, but let's hope he gets through fine this time. And Bramz takes another death. So Sten has quite a comfortable lead now. It's still not out of the picture that Sten could mess something up and have Bramz take the lead, but if he takes stuff safely, then he's got a, you know, there's a comfortable buffer now. Bramz gets out of this level now. Fine. And Sten's just waiting in the sandbar. Another one of those almost auto-scroller but not quite levels. You know, there's stuff you can do to skip cycles, but you've really just got to wait. And we'll see if Sten gets this jump up here. Got it fine. So getting up onto that without waiting for the sandbar to move up is actually dependent on your speed. The height that Mario jumps is based on his X speed, and his X speed oscillates when he's got P speed. And only high ones will get you the jump you need to get up there. And Bramz got the sandbar clip in this level, so that saves him some time there over Steven. That's beautiful to see. I'm glad we got to see that. That's a relatively risky strat, but he got it perfectly. We'll see if he gets that luck jump. And a nice fort there from Steven as well. So as Steven leaves the fort, Bramz is entering it. And as you see, like Bramz and Steven was as well, having to run back and forth to keep P-speed up through this level. So, like Morton is in Cape categories, this one is one where you have to really know how P-speed works to go fast. So Bram's finishing up with the Resnals there. And Steven will not just be hitting Bowser with these Mecha Koopas straight away. You see that he's saving this one. He wants Bowser to throw out another Mecha Koopa so that he'll have a spare one going into the second phase. And he'll use that to skip part of Bowser's animations. Sorry, I keep saying Steven, I mean Sten. Previously known as Steven1704. So yeah, Bowser will be dropping one bowling ball for Sten here, and as he stops to drop the second one, we'll hit him with a Mecha Koopa, and that'll stop him from dropping the second one altogether. And we'll see Bram setting up the same way to keep a Mecha Koopa into the second phase. And thanks to the beauty of how maths works, we now also have a second Mecha Koopa into the third phase without even having to do anything. And that one will also be useful. It's not just that we get an earlier hit, but throwing this Mecha Koopa up into Bowser at the start of the third phase means that he'll only bounce 5 times instead of, I think, 8. So that'll save a bit of time as well. And he'll throw out this more Mecha Koopas, and nice time on Steven. So for Sten, he stopped his timer a little early on his life split, I believe. It looked like that stopped before Peach came out. But by the race room, he got a 36:09. But that's a pretty good time for a race, especially. So that was a pretty good race, actually. You know, traded places a few times within the last world as well. Always in the same level, really, as well. And now we get a GG for Bramz. Bramz finished with 37:02 in the race room. Yeah, if these guys want to come in to talk about their runs at all, then they can feel free. Welcome, Sten. Congrats on the win. And welcome, Bramz.
Thank you, Xander.
So
I'm muted. Hello.
Hey, congrats on the win, Sten.
Thanks.
And that's a good race for both of you. Pretty close the whole way through, really.
Yeah, until Bob.
Yeah. So, how do you both feel about these runs?
Bad. I feel bad about it. Dude, I
is.
was only +5 out of Wendy, because apparently my PB had a terrible World 6.
Damn.
And then I just decided that I didn't want a PB, so I threw.
Yeah,
I
that
just-
traded place quite a few times.
Yeah, I didn't have anything huge. It was just like
Slop.
dumb stuff here and there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
slop.
Just general
Like-
slop. Same with me.
Yeah, DP
Yeah.
for oh my god, VS1.
Yeah.
I couldn't get up the green beans.
Yeah,
can't be
I saw
upset
you
with
went for that
36.
fireball, but missed it.
Yeah, it's not often I miss the fireball, and then the one time I missed the fireball is the one time where I can't jump up,
Yeah.
or the screen doesn't scroll for me.
Like, you both
Yep.
seem to play relatively the same way throughout the whole race, so that's why, it's pretty close, but like you say, just some slop here and there would push the other one in the lead.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I don't know if either of you were watching that during the race, but that'll definitely be a good one for you to go back and watch, I think.
Yeah, I was just keeping an eye on it, listening
Yeah,
as well.
I had it up as well.
Yeah.
GG. Can't be upset with the 36. Even though it's
Yeah,
36.59.
Yeah, I mean, that, despite everything, that is my best race of the tournament.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think they've all been 36s as well. I've had a low, mid, and a high now.
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that until, I know that Steven, you just had a race before this one, but both of you had a win by default. Like, Bramz, your opponent dropped out in your last race, and Steven, yours forfeited in the first one.
Yeah.
So today was the first time in this tournament that you both really got to have a full race to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm glad it was against you, Sten.
Yeah, in 20 minutes, we've got a race between Umar and Lexian.
Ooh.
And that's on this channel. So stick around, folks, for that one. But do either of you have anything else you want to add, or?
No. Although I get out of groups. Hooray. There's like no way I can not get out of groups now if I've got 3 wins.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, does your first race count because they're out of the tournament anyway?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It's there's some groups that have that like just to fill out the numbers have a person that doesn't actually isn't actually a person anyway.
Right.
So there are some groups that only have 3 people.
I have to win on Sunday if I want to continue.
Yeah, although I think if you lose, so we've had one person drop from the tournament. If you lose on Sunday, then are you tied with that person?
I think so. I think we'd have to do a tiebreaker or something.
Yeah, because it'd be. Oh wait, no. If you lose, they get 2 wins and you get 1.
No, if I lose, I have 0. Well, actually, yeah. I guess the other race is a win because they dropped.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to win.
Yep.
So yeah, good luck for that one.
Good luck.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, I guess if we got nothing else to add, then we can jump out, switch over for the next people to come in.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Don't want to miss it.
See you around, folks.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.